What's up, Sword Family? Welcome to the Teahouse again. So, minor update. What I assumed was just allergies last week actually turned into be something bigger. It's not anything serious, at least I don't think it's anything serious. According to the doctor, there is a virus going around, and they think I caught this virus. They gave me a nose spray, and I don't know if this is a new cough or if whatever this virus is re-aggravated the old cough, but yeah, cough came back. Of course, cough never left, so I may or may not be taking more frequent tea breaks. I have my Jolly Rancher again, so, but I'm fine. It's just a little annoying, but other than that, it's not really a big deal. Tonight, we will be continuing our discussion on customs for first meetings, but this time we're going to be going over first dates. Now, honestly, a lot of the things are going to be similar to customs for business meetings and like meeting a friend for the first time. There's going to be some overlap there, but there's also going to be some new things brought up because dating is different than business meetings and meeting friends. And for those people who will be watching this on the rerun because they are currently sword fighting, I hope you had fun, and I hope you were all safe, and I look forward to hearing how things went whenever we get a chance to talk again. Beyond that, we will have to perhaps wait until next Saturday's show when we have our tea time with Trey Part R. So before we get into things, as always, comments. And first through the door is Foxy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Teahouse. And right on the ball, second comment, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Yes, please. I don't even know if this channel ever was monetized. I think it was like when I first made the channel, like years and years ago, before I even like uploaded a first video, it might have been monetized, but I like to try and get, people who aren't aware of this channel. Excuse me. Try and get some more people, interested in Chinese culture, history, definitely martial arts. So we'll see. And Carl is joining us. Good evening. Good evening, Carl. And Foxy greeting Carl. Foxy says we're getting set up. Inigo is super cuddly tonight. Yeah, you just saw, so. And Carl greeting Foxy. And Donna is joining us. Hey, Foxy and Whitman dude. Hello, Donna. And Carl greeting Donna. And Foxy greeting. Hello, Donna. How your guys' day been? Went well for Carl. Nice and quiet for Donna. No storms. How about you guys? Well, there's quite a wonderful breeze outside right now, but we also have some birds nested in the tree right about there-ish. They're kind of loud, so don't really have the windows open because sounds like they're laughing at us. And maybe they are. Who knows? But right now, it's a bit cloudy, bit overcast. But all in all, it's been a good day. Good. Did a load of laundry and made the bed, yeah. Fresh sheets are always fresh for now. They're probably not fresh anymore because the dog's been bouncing all over them. For sure, yep. Tonight we're going to be talking about dating. This is going to be interesting, yeah? Pretty much. As a student of psychology my whole life, these things fascinate me. And, that's at least in part why I started doing this. I know I haven't done nearly as many martial arts focused episodes, but that's not all this is. The Teahouse is not entirely dedicated just to martial arts. There's cultural aspects, there's psychological aspects, there's anthropological aspects. And that kind of goes into my style of teaching. When I get a new student, the first thing I don't do, is we don't immediately get into stances and sparring and weapons and all that stuff. No. I start by going over philosophy and kind of the why of martial arts. Because in my opinion, and I'm sure there are people who disagree with this, but why you do something is just as, if not more important than how and when and all the other W questions that come with these things. You need to know why. So, philosophy, at the very beginning, before we even get into anything else, we get into the whys, and we kind of build on that. So, they are interesting, aren't they? Yeah. Foxy took some psychology and some anthropology in college. Loved them both. Yeah. And you got to take the class that I didn't get to take. I think it was my one of my first semesters at our local community college, I had a class called Philosophy of Religion. And damn if that wasn't just right up my alley. Because I love philosophy and I like to learn. I mean, I think, not 100% sure, but I think I kind of went over this in past streams, but, I was basically browbeat into the Mormon church at 13 years old, went through all the home teachings, went through the Book of Mormon, the whole thing, went to church, decided it wasn't for me, and then decided, hey, let's go find out what is for you, and tried to learn as much as possible about every religion on the planet. And, in a small public library in a red Mormon state, small town, it wasn't easy getting a lot of information here. Excuse me. But, yeah, philosophy of religion. It sounded amazing. So the day before the semester is set to begin, I'm in the college bookstore buying the books for my classes. The day before, I must stress this, the day before the first day of the semester, I get most of my books. I'm looking for the philosophy of religion book. It's not on the shelves. So I go ask the two very attractive women who are working there. And they're looking it up on the computer and, I don't know, it should be there. Hold on. So they call up to the admissions office, which is literally like the bookstore is here and the admissions office is like right here. They're right above each other in the building. So they call the admissions office. And they're on the phone for 5 minutes. And they're like, you need to go see admissions. Okay. All right. So I pay for the books that I had, run upstairs, walk into the admissions office, and they go, your class was canceled due to lack of interest. Not enough people signed up for the class to justify paying the teacher, buying the books, all that crap. So they canceled the class. And they're like, didn't anybody call and tell you? I'm like, no, nobody told me. What is this garbage? And they're like, oh, yeah, they canceled the class. So to remain a full-time student, I had to pick up another 3-credit-hour class the day before classes started. I had to sign up for a whole new class that I had to find something. And I ended up signing up for an American government class, which is... I've been learning about American government my entire school life, but it was the only thing that was even, number one, available the day before classes started, and two, fit into my American civics requirement for getting my degree. So I signed up for an American government class, showed up the first day of class, and counting myself, there are 3 people in the class. 2 more people showed up later, so we ended up having a 5-person class. 5 people. But they canceled my philosophy of religion class due to lack of interest. Yeah. Not that I'm bitter about it or anything, but Sorry for that little tangent, by the way, but it was just, yeah, it still annoys me. You would think that sociology would cover it, but Anthro did much better. Yeah. Cultural anthropology was fascinating. I'm sure it was for you. And Kitty is joining us. Hi, all. Hello, kitten. And greetings for Kitty. And greetings for Kitty. And Dawn is joining us. Evening. Good evening, Dawn. And greetings for Dawn. And more greetings for Dawn. And greetings for Kitty and Dawn. By the way, liked and shared. Good job. Gold star for Donna. Hold on. I got something for this. Hold on. And gold star for you. And Trey is joining us. Hey, y'all. Hello, Trey. Wow. Didn't expect to see you tonight. Greetings and greetings and greetings. And greetings for me. Woo! Hey, Donna. Donnie, that's a new one. Well, you know. Donnie, Dawning. Greetings, yes. Got the sword and buckler pick. Send them to you later. Nice. Hopefully we're still on for next week. I'm looking forward to this. Even if I do still sound like Christian Bale Batman, I'm still gonna not sick again. Yeah. Get well soon. I'm trying. Yeah, this exactly. I'm already better than I was. The cough isn't bad. I mean, you can tell. I've done a couple of and this is going to be kind of gross, but I'm actually coughing things up this time. So I'm hoping maybe if I kick this one, it'll kick the other one too. Sorry, just punched the microphone. If I kick this one, it'll knock the other one out too. And then I'll be, you know, better. But yeah, I'm doing much better. Run ads if you need taking, but I don't think I have any ads on here right now. But for once, Foxy didn't catch it. She's surprised. Yeah. Lucked out. Don't talk about it too loudly. You don't tempt fate. Currently on the road toward home, trying to avoid the deer in the dark. Well, be careful. Jeez. May your way be clear of suicidal deer. Did you mean for that to rhyme? Or was that just accidental? Would have been so mad about the canceled class. Oh my goodness. I was livid. Let me buy the book. Yeah, that's the problem. They didn't buy the bookstore. Didn't get the book because not enough people signed up for the class. And she got to take it. That happened in some of my classes too. That's the danger of liking things that are out there. Yeah, exactly. Still have several of my college textbooks. Well, when they screw you over on the buyback, you're getting pennies for a book that you spent, in some cases, hundreds of dollars on. Now we have the web and we can learn anything. Yeah. And that's, you know, like I said, part of why I started doing this stream and my shorter form videos too. You know, I like to help people learn things. So when people like this lovely little muse right here, same here, Foxy, when she says something that sparks something in my brain, or she asks a question, I have a Google Doc with lists of Teahouse episodes, and then below that is a shorter list of short form video ideas. And a lot of them came from her. Yeah, you know. Couldn't get rid of the algebra one fast enough, though. Thesis would love our home library and the couple of shelves with religion and philosophy. I bet I would. And that was like the big thing with that portion of my life. Is I was really, like, honestly looking. It wasn't just... Some people just fall into religion. And I'm not trying to disparage any particular faith. But there are a lot of people out there who only believe what they believe because it's what their parents believed. And they only believed it because it's what their parents believe. And so on, all the way down the line. You know, it's like there's this joke that goes around. And I love this because you can apply it to so many different things, okay? So there's a woman making dinner for her family. I think it was like Thanksgiving or Christmas, something like that. And she cuts the edge off a ham before she puts it in the pan and puts it in the oven to cook. And her daughter's like, well, why do you cut the end off the ham? And she said, well, it's because that's what my mom did. Well, why? I don't know. Let's call her. So they call up grandma, and, you know, the mother asked her mom, you know, why did you cut the end off the ham? Because that's what my mom did. Well, why? I don't know. Let's call her. So they call up great grandma. You know, why'd you cut the edge off the ham? Because it was the only way it would fit. The only way it would fit in the goddamn pan. You know, one generation did something one particular way for a reason. But the subsequent generations are doing this thing, and they don't know why beyond just, that's how my mother did it. That's how my parents did it. So when it came time for me to find out just where my religious affiliation was going to lie, I really genuinely researched everything I could get my hands on. And I knew that it wasn't Mormonism. It definitely wasn't Christianity. I came really, really close to being a Muslim. But eventually I had to go outside of the main Abrahamic beliefs. And I looked up, you know, Druids and Norse and like everything I could get my hands on. So finding other books on religion and philosophy for me is just like breathing. You know, I have a copy right on my bookshelf right there. I'm not going to reach for it because all of my books, if I grab that book, the whole thing's going to tumble. I have a book. I have Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I have Dialects of Plato. I have the Tao Te Ching. I have a book just on like philosophers. I took a night philosophy class just to take a philosophy class. But yeah. Probably, yeah. Need the gold star to be a thing. Well, how about this? We'll do this just for Trey. Hold on. Turn off the banner. No. Carl, get your screenshot ready. We have the more you know. Now we have the gold star. There you go. Now that can be a screenshot and people can enjoy that for, many years to come. Thanks, both of you, for the gold star. Well, you deserve it. More Inigo sightings? Yeah. I figure he's going to be going back and forth for the, next little while, so that was accidental rhyming. That's almost even better than like on purpose rhyming, is when you do it on accident. Hiya, folks. Hey, midnight. And we have a new person tonight. Wonderful. Christian Thompson. I heard it's custom to burp when you eat in China. That's how they say the food is good. Yes, we covered that last week. It is considered polite when you're eating at a restaurant or in someone's home to burp when you're eating. It is a signal to the chef that you enjoyed the food. So yes, that's very true. Welcome, Christian. Yes, welcome to the show. Hello, Christian. Indeed, is considered polite. Yes. Got it. Nice. The gold star. Hopefully it was clear. And, if I have to do it again, just let me know. All right, here we go. First dates. Because dating an Asian girl, Chinese, things like that, it's not going to be the same thing as dating a Western girl or a European girl. So a big cornerstone in Chinese culture is going to be Confucianism. And Confucianism really, really emphasizes the importance of family. So, don't be surprised if a Chinese girl brings her mother, father, grandfather, grandmother with her on a first date. Because we're going to cover that in a second, you need to meet with their standards first. So if you show up to a date with a Chinese girl and she's sitting there and on either side of her are two other women, or a woman and a man and a man, if you turn tail and run before you even get to an introduction, you failed the test. You're not going to get a second date. Now, most people, if they get to that point and they see other people on the date, they're not going to want a second date. They're probably going to be scared. She's bringing her parents on a first date. Yeah, because you need to meet with the parents or grandparents, whoever the main person in the family is. It might be grandma, might be great grandma, might be mom, might be dad, might be grandpa. That person is like the head of the family. And their opinion is going to be paramount to this girl, to this woman. Now, it's not always going to happen. As the country becomes more modernized, these kind of things don't happen as much. But it can and may happen. Or they might meet you there alone and just randomly in the middle of the date hand you their phone. And on the other end is going to be mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever. And that person will grill you like your life was on the line because they want to see family. You know, if you're going to become part of this family, we need to approve of you. So that's definitely a big one, is, you know, that connection to the parental figure. And not only do they want you need their approval. Another aspect is respect for elders. Now, this is something that I have always kind of bucked against in my own belief system. I don't think that people automatically deserve respect just because they're older or higher in the family hierarchy. I think respect is earned. So that is something that, for me, goes against Confucianism. I don't believe that people automatically get respect just because they're older than you or higher in the hierarchy than you. If I followed that trend, when that one in there first introduced me to her grandma, and her grandma decided that she hated me within 5 seconds of meeting me, we probably wouldn't be together right now. Because grandma is the head of the family over there. She's the person in charge. She's the main matriarch. And if she didn't like me and I followed this Confucian trend, I would have left and been like, okay, this is not going to work out because your grandma don't like me. For an old guy like me, I should be okay unless she has a brother or brothers. Yeah, probably. She might be the matriarch, the head of the family. So you wouldn't have to meet, you know, the other people, but you would still be on the hook for the people underneath. It just wouldn't be as important. Now, you will find, you know, online dating has become more popular over there. We discussed the modernization, which in a lot of cases I don't think is a good thing, but online dating is a thing, and you can get to a point where you're already an established couple before you even get to that first date, because you've had several long, intimate conversations over apps, text messages, things like that. So that will alter the mechanics, we'll say, of the first date. Now, like I said when we first started this, there's going to be a lot of overlap between first dates and business meetings and, you know, the friend meetings. So to kind of review some of the things that we talked about last week, be on time. You want to this is something I didn't bring up last week. You want to dress nicely. Now, this is also situational. You know, if you show up for a first date wearing a business suit like you would have for a business meeting, or if you show up wearing a business suit for a first friend meeting, people are going to think you're stuffy. They're going to think that you're either showing off or you're just kind of stuffy. So you want to be able to ride that line between dressing nicely, but also not looking like you're trying too hard. So unless you're going to like the opera or, some really high-end restaurant, don't show up for a first date wearing a suit. Sarah's joining us. Hey there, Sarah. How's it going, Sarah? Greetings for Sarah. Everyone's going to be happy to see Sarah. So yeah, unless you're going to a high-end restaurant or the opera or some place where it's necessary to wear a suit, don't. Just don't. But dress nicely. Bring a gift, especially on a first date. But be careful of the kind of gift you bring. See, more greetings for Sarah. Sarah greeting me. Sarah greeting everybody else. If you show up with flowers, you need to be aware of what different flowers are going to mean over in Chinese culture compared to Western culture. Now, I don't want to go too deep into this because this is an idea I have for a later stream. But needless to say, flowers here in the West do not always mean the same thing to Eastern cultures. So if you're going to bring flowers, do your research. Cherry blossoms, that's a good one. That's a good one. So, going back to this thing, don't point. Like, almost exclusively don't point. It's considered rude. Also, if you have a habit like I do of talking with your hands, try and limit that as much as you possibly can. Because you might accidentally do a gesture that you think is not really anything. And then over there, it means something and it could mean something bad. And you could end up with a drink in your lap. Or slapped. Let's see what else we got. Would not be the first time. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Dating in Asian culture, there is a much bigger emphasis, especially as a Chinese girl gets older. You're going to have much more emphasis on, I want to get married. I have to get married. My family expects me to get married. So similarly to if you show up on a first date and there's other people there, don't get scared. If you show up on a first date and she's already talking about wedding plans, just kind of think about that for a minute. She wants to get married. She needs to get married. Her family is on her ass to get married. So maybe don't immediately flip out, Marriage is a much bigger concern especially like after the age of 25. Yeah. Now, it's like how different I am from others on like Valentine's Day. Would they prefer a potted plant to let grow or cut to let dry out? I personally like to keep, you know, that's not a bad idea, Sarah. Bringing a plant, but again, you have to do your research because again, plants are not going to mean the same thing to an Asian person that they're going to mean to a Western person. So if you want to bring a plant, that's perfectly fine. Just do your research. Wonder how that is. Yeah, you know, maybe one flower for a first date. Yeah. Foxy loves potted plants and has many. Yeah, you're not kidding. So you might be the first person. Okay, let me back up a little bit. If the girl that you're dating is the first person in her family who actually has ever had a choice in who she dates, if it wasn't always just pushed on her by her family, and she's the very first person in her entire generation that has ever been able to choose who she dates and who she marries, she might not fully understand the dating world. You know, she might have some older thoughts and beliefs that you, as a modern man, are not going to understand. You know, like I said, bringing a parent, talking about marriage on a first date. These are all antiquated beliefs, but if she's the first person in her line that has ever been able to make a choice in who she dates and marries, those old culture norms and beliefs are always going to be there. And if that's all she's known, then she's going to follow those beliefs. So, yeah. Different ones for different regions? Absolutely, yes. Yes. Blasting you with questions. I don't care, Sarah. You know, I mentioned that before you got here. That's the entire point of this channel, is to be able to answer these questions when people have them. And depending on the family and where they fall in line with the other sisters or curious with singles, yes, yes, and yes. Like, okay, let's throw out a hypothetical here. You're going on a first date with a Chinese girl, and she's the youngest daughter. Okay, she's going to be the lowest person in the hierarchy because she's a woman and she's the youngest. So she's going to be the very bottom. That means her older sister, her mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, whoever is still alive is going to be the people that she's striving to not impress, but prove herself to, basically. So you come along as boyfriend of the girl that's down here. That's going to put you about here. You're going to be slightly higher than her in the hierarchy just because you're male. You might even be at the same level because you're introduced to the family. So you will also have all of these people above you, plus the males in the family above you. You're going to have to prove yourself to every single one of these people. Because, again, Confucianism, family hierarchy. So, yes. one right after another. Don't even worry about it. Depends on the family within the country. So study religion and their family. Yes, yes, yes. What does a girlfriend give a boyfriend, or is that a factor? It does depend. Yes. Okay. I've been mainly focusing for the past 15 minutes on dating a Chinese girl. Now, also, if you are a female dating a Chinese girl, the rules are also going to be different because, unfortunately, just like in a lot of the world, people tend to look down on the LGBTQ people, the society as a whole. So, if you're a girl dating a girl, you're going to have different rules. You're going to have to try harder in a lot of instances to gain the respect of that family. But if you are a female dating a Chinese male, then the rules are going to change again. The emphasis on marriage that I mentioned a little bit ago, it's still going to be there 100% because, that family hierarchy Confucianism thing. But you don't have to bring a gift if you are a woman or a female dating a male or a male dating a male. You don't always have to bring a gift, but if you do, the gift is going to have to be more masculine. So, Jade, bring like a peachwood sword. Bring a lucky envelope. These things are going to be dependent on, one, the sexual orientation of the dating pair, and where the person that you're dating fits in that family hierarchy. It's sexist, but Asian culture is a patriarchal society. And women are not as high up in that society. So if you are dating a Chinese male, the rules are going to change. And they might change at a moment's notice. You might show up to a date and he's got his mother with him. And then mom's like, okay, yeah, this is a good girl. I approve. And mom gets up and leaves. And then here comes dad or grandpa or uncle or older brother. And they don't approve of you. And he's just going to get up and walk away. Maybe. It's entirely situational. So on point, a large amount of Asians at the U of I, and they do bring their entire family with them into a very small apartment. Yes. First date would have to happen after you know how their family functions before a first date could ever happen. In a lot of cases, yes. You might be meeting for what you think is a first date, and it's actually just you're meeting the family so the family can approve of you for a first date. In the Middle East, the woman rides in the backseat. Culture is very important. Yes. It's an unfortunate fact. It really is. So, yeah, exactly. See, you're dating their family for the first date. Yeah. I mentioned last week that physical affection is not as culturally acceptable over there. So, and this is very true as well. It's just their normal, our normal is weird to them too. Exactly. You know, you wouldn't just walk up to a random person and hug them or kiss them. You know, you shake hands, you might, you know, fist bump or something. But even when it comes to dating, you have to be aware that physical affection is almost reserved for like married couples. So if you see an Asian couple holding hands or being physically affectionate in public, either one of two things has happened. Number one, they've been together for a very, very long time to the point where both parties are comfortable doing that in public, or they're married. Now, you might have outliers. You know, we've already kind of discussed the modernization of Chinese culture to the point where holding hands is not really that big of a deal. But it's still kind of ingrained in their head. And they might be bucking those trends, but they're still there. I can tell you a little story. And this one actually is kind of on point. So when we first moved into this apartment, Foxy's brother lived here with us too. All three of us in this 2-bedroom apartment. And at this time, I was on better grounds, we'll say, with my Sherpa. We don't talk anymore. We're not really close anymore. Yep, that's the pupper. But his sister came down here from Taiwan. And no one really knows exactly how this happened. But somehow, my Sherpa's sister and Foxy's brother started dating. We don't know who asked who, but she was spending a lot of time here because she was trying to learn English. She was trying to learn kind of the Western culture. And my Sherpa trusted us enough to be the ones to teach her. Now, it was supposed to be an exchange, you know. She was supposed to be teaching us the language while we taught her about Western culture, but that didn't happen. But somehow the two of them started dating. And for a long time, we don't even know how long, they kept it hidden. We did not, and we were living with him at the time, and we did not know they were dating. And when we eventually found out, we decided, hey, let's go out, have a double date, you know, try and get her. Oh, geez. Comfortable, I guess, is one way to look at it, with being in this relationship. So we went to our local pool. And we're swimming. And me and Foxy have been together for years at this point, you know, and we're splashing and hugging and giving her piggyback rides in the water. And so the sister sees this, and she tries doing the same thing with her new boyfriend. Now, unbeknownst to us, okay, she had told her brother where she was going. And he showed up at the pool. And he saw her acting like this. And he didn't approve of it. And because he was the only male figure at that time in the same area as her, he was the de facto head of the family, which made her the head of her. So he made her get out of the water and leave with him. And he came back to my apartment and had the two of them sit on a couch. Not this couch. This couch is relatively new compared to this story. But he had them sit on this couch and he lectured them for over an hour about their relationship. And because of that, they ended up breaking up just because of that conversation. Because of what happened. Because the head of the household did not approve of the relationship. Now, eventually, she ended up going back home to Taiwan, meeting a guy, and getting pregnant. But because her brother was not in the area, she was no longer under his yoke, so to speak. She was able to do more of what she wanted, even though she was in the same place as her parents. And she ended up getting pregnant. But because of one conversation in this living room, the whole relationship ended. And we had no idea how long they'd even been together in the first place before all of this happened. So those things are very, very important. Family is paramount. Respect. These things are necessary. So to go back to the whole, hugging, kissing, holding hands, it's going to be situational. It's going to be dependent on both parties at the time that it happens. But on your end, whether you're a male dating a Chinese female, female dating a Chinese female, female dating a Chinese male, male dating a Chinese male, you don't give physical affection, you accept physical affection. You don't hold their hand, they hold yours. You don't hug them, they hug you. You don't kiss them, they kiss you. You wait until it's offered. Which I think should be a rule for every relationship ever. Never presume that physical affection is wanted or desired. You wait until it's offered. That is a really, really big one that a lot of people, a lot of Westerners who date Asian people, they don't get this part. They think, okay, we've been on 5, 6, 7, 8 dates. They're cold. They won't hold my hand. They won't give me a hug or a peck on the cheek or a kiss after a date. I'm going to bail because this person obviously isn't interested in me. No. You're just being a pushy bastard. They're not ready for that to be public. And a lot of your first dates here's another thing. A lot of your first dates are going to be public. Because until they trust you, they're not going to want to be in a one-on-one kind of intimate situation until it gets to a point where they know that you're not going to push things beyond where they're comfortable with. And if you're always trying to grab their hand and hold their hand, or you're trying to pull them in and hug them, you're trying to force physical affection on them, the more often that you do that, the more it's going to push them away and they're not going to want to do it. So wait until it is offered. That is a big one. Marrying the family, yeah. Very much so. Okay. Okay, we covered pointing. Oh, okay, yeah. Try not to misinterpret signals. I have notes. That's what I'm going back to. I've written notes while I was doing the research for this. I have a little the Microsoft Notepad. I wrote notes down. So Asian people will often smile or laugh as a sign of embarrassment. It's not the same thing as, okay, sorry, but I got to do it. There is a Bruce Lee movie. Now, bear with me here. There's a Bruce Lee movie called Way of the Dragon. Way of the Dragon sees Bruce Lee's character going from Hong Kong to Rome. And he's going there to help a friend of his uncle. She has a Chinese restaurant, and the restaurant is being shaken down, we'll say, by some local gangsters. So he goes there to help her. And when he gets there, he has a wad of cash, just money, Hong Kong dollars in his pocket. And she's like, oh, no. We got to go put this in the bank. And he's like, no, I don't trust banks. I want people to see and touch my money. It's mine. But she takes him to a bank anyway. And he gets there, and the bank officer or whatever walks over and puts his arm around him and gives him a big hug. And he's suspicious of this person. He's like, why is this guy touching me? And he's all smiling at him and being all buddy and, trying to get his money, because that's what a banker does. So he puts some money in the bank. He exchanges some of it, and they leave. And they go into this little town square area, and they're sitting down, and she's lecturing him like, you embarrassed me in there. This guy is my friend. He's not a crook. He's not trying to swindle you. Over here in the West, when someone smiles at you, you smile back. When someone shows you affection, you return it. And at this same time, a very beautiful Italian woman comes and sits behind the woman he's talking to. So you have like a bench. I don't remember if it was a bench or if they were sitting on a fountain. I want to say it was a fountain. But you have Bruce's character here and the woman he's helping here. And behind her is this gorgeous Italian woman. Okay? Now, keep in mind the conversation that's going on between these two characters. This woman is flirting with him. Okay? So when she says, you know, when someone smiles at you, you smile back. The woman behind her smiles at him. So he smiles back. When they show you affection, you return it. She winks at him. He winks back. If someone puts their arm around you, you return it. So she walks over, puts her arm around him. He puts his arm around her. He's flirting back with her. He doesn't even realize it because he's just doing what this person is telling him to do. And she gets all flustered and frustrated and walks off, even though he's just doing what you told him to do. He doesn't understand he's doing anything wrong. You're telling him to do these things. So he's doing them. So she takes him back to her apartment. And if you don't see the Eastern version of this movie, this scene is cut out. If you watch the original cut of Way of the Dragon that was shown over here in the West, the scene stops right there with her getting flustered and him kind of watching her walk away like, what did I do? But if you watch the original version, she takes him back to her apartment. And this scene is hilarious to me. The whole exchange is hilarious to me. But this scene in particular, she tells him to sit down, get comfortable, and she leaves. She walks into a different room. And he's kind of standing there. And the character is portrayed as kind of he lives kind of in the outskirts of Hong Kong. So he's kind of Hong Kong country. So he's standing there and he starts practicing punches and kicks. Now, there's a wardrobe on the wall right here. And it's slightly open. And there's a mirror right here facing the door that she walked into. He's standing over here. He's looking that way. She walks out completely naked. And you see the reflection in the mirror. And his eyes get big and he kind of starts to turn pale, and he very, very slowly and very, very carefully walks off and leaves because he had no idea what the hell just happened. To him, to his mind, he was just doing what he was told. He was being friendly. He was doing what the person that he sees as an expert in this culture told him to do. And then next thing you know, there's a naked woman standing there looking at him. That whole exchange is a perfect overview of what we're talking about here. One big, giant cultural misunderstanding. Body language is very different, even facial expressions between Asians and us. Yep. In the health center, the Asian guys would come in smiling, saying they're sick. That threw me off at first. I'm sure it did. And lots of pluses from Inigo. And pluses back. And greetings. Being talky, well, you know. Love that, yeah. No matter how much I wanted the Asians to make it so I couldn't stereotype them. So many drive erratic. They must be something they learn and used to there. Well, see, the thing is, over there, they have to drive erratically. So if they learn how to drive in Hong Kong, Taiwan, mainland China, they have to drive erratically, or they will get crunched by someone. So if they learn how to drive over there and they come over here, that's just how they drive now. Hugely populated, yeah. Love hearing him talking, yeah. When we're on the Creatives at Play, he almost always wants to be right on top of us. And this is true. Then they get crunched here because they're drive. Yeah. So we're already over the hour, so let's just kind of try and speed round through the rest of these notes. But don't misinterpret signals. If they're smiling at you, they might just be embarrassed. It might just be uncomfortable. If you ask them a question and they say maybe, maybe does not mean yes. Maybe to Easterners means no. If you're on a date, try to maintain focus on the person you're dating. Don't keep looking at your watch. They're going to think that you're bored or you want to leave. Don't keep looking at your phone. Try to maintain focus on the person that you're dating. Don't greet someone negatively. So by that, I mean, if you show up and they have like bags under their eyes or they look a little sick, don't bring it up. Don't walk up to a person and be like, you look like crap. They're going to internalize that a lot. So try to keep those comments to yourself. Call them their name until you get better acquainted with them. You know, if you walk up on a first date and you immediately start with nicknames, or you if they have a Chinese name and you anglicize that name, they are going to hate you so much. It's going to be bad. So if they have an Asian name, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Thai, try to just call them their name until you get to be better acquainted. People's names, their identities, are important to them. And even if they have a Western name, like we'll just use my own example, okay? My local Sherful, he has a Chinese name. Not going to say it, but that's how he's still in my phone contacts to this day, even though we barely said a word to each other in 6 years. He's in my phone under his Chinese name. But because he lives over here in the West, he gave himself a Western name. That Western name is Jack. So when I met him, his name was Jack. when I talk to him, his name is Jack. I have never, to this day, and I have known this man for quite a while now, he's always been Jack. He has a Chinese name. I have used it, but he is Jack. So if I walked up on, well, I'm not going to date him, but if I walked up on a first date and I'm like, yo, what's up, Jay? No, don't do that. Don't do that. His name is Jack. Use the name they're given. Try to stay humble. Don't boast. Which, again, I think should be the norm for every date ever. You know, if you roll up on a first date in your sports car, you look like a douche. I'm sorry, but you do. Try to stay humble. And here is one that I have had issues with in the past and still sometimes do to this day. Try not talking just to fill the silence. Silence can be a part of speech to show that the person speaking has put thought into what they're trying to say. So if you're in a situation and it's kind of awkward, there's a lot of just pauses in the conversation, don't talk just to talk. Talk when you have something to say. This one is also, I think, should be the norm. If you're just talking just to talk, if you're just talking just to hear yourself speak, if you're just talking to fill awkward silence, then you're not really saying anything important. You're just talking to talk. Good info so far. Thank you. Definitely good. Some didn't know English and learned their body language and accents until eventually translating. Yeah. One of the Asian students left their cell phone. I usually text someone with it to say where the phone is. Couldn't even begin to locate them by reading it. Yeah. Still reminds me of the nurse calling out, so what? Yeah, that's his name. Yep. Honest mistake, yeah. At least it wasn't who, because then the whole baseball joke comes to mind. Yeah. Was funny, but OMG, yeah. Chuckle, just slip out. Well, oh man, I'd be screwed. I talk to strangers anywhere I go and look in here and other. Yeah, see, you just have to be cognizant that you're doing it, though. You're fully aware that you're doing it. So that's different. Okay, one more thing. And this one might rub certain people the wrong way. But you're on a date, and this is not just dates. This is like business meetings, friend meetings. Do not cross your ankles when you're sitting. Two Asian people sitting like that with your ankles crossed, knees pressed together. It shows you're hiding something. So, women, try and sit, trying to word this carefully, but try and sit with your legs open, but not open so much that he sees all the way to the promised land. We'll put it that way. if you sit with your knees close together and your ankles crossed, like they're taught is polite over here in the West, they're going to think that you're hiding something. Fully wear usually afterwards or when it comes up in the topic, half the time not so much. Yeah, and it's fine, you know. Yes, sit in a relaxed posture. Not the green room, but I've used that phrase before too. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. Focus on hiding pillow pants. Yeah, maybe. You know, a lot of the things that I mentioned last week also carry over into the dating world. Be on time, dress nicely, bring a gift. Don't give physical affection, receive physical affection. Don't look at your watch. Don't misunderstand smiles or physical cues. Don't be scared if mom, grandma, dad, grandpa show up. Don't get freaked out if they're talking about marriage on a first date. Don't boast. Just kind of be humble. And that's pretty much all we got today. Carl did a good show. Thank you. As long as everything goes smoothly, this both ways are the way a guy should be to the female. Most of them are going to carry over. Most of them. You won't be as pressured as a male to be thinking about marriage as early, but it's still going to be there. Gifts are not always required, but depending on the person, they might be appreciated. But for the most part, it is universal for all the sexes. So yes. Hopefully next week we'll have Tea Time with Trey again. I hope that this was what about the age of 45 when they're no longer? Doesn't matter. Does not matter. And in fact, if a male is at that age and not married, their family has probably written them off as gay. If they're not married in their 40s, the family is going to think something is wrong with them. Gay, not interested in women. Have more questions for more shows? Yeah. I appreciate your questions, Sarah. I really do. Yeah. I hope that this was informative. I hope everyone had a good time tonight. And before we go, I got to play that at least once. Divorced. Well, divorces do absolutely happen. Familial or societal pressure, probably. but you're going to be having a lot of similar rules just when it comes to first dates. Very informative. Thank you. Great show. Was listening while puzzling. Nice. Squeegee. Yep. And greeting for Dawn. All right. It is almost 7 o'clock. I still have to eat. So, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. And I will see everyone next week, hopefully for Tea Time Part R. 再见。